Hello and welcome to Mad Dog Hobby, just a guy enjoying the hobby the only way I know how, impatiently with coffee and a steep learning curve. Rough. Today I will be building the 4 missing operatives from the Inquisitorial agent's kill team. Building certain operatives locks us out of building other operatives in the kit. Of course I could buy another box of Inquisitorial agents, but I'd have to use the same chassis as I used before and everyone will just look a little too similar. Building the Pistolier from the agent's kit locks me out of building the Quest Keeper, so the Quest Keeper will be the first up on the chopping block. I will base her off this Novitiate Superior model that a friend gave me. I start by clipping off the power pack connection on the back of the model because I don't need it. I smooth out the area with the back of my knife and then build the model as intended, apart from the arms. I have all the spare parts from the Inquisitorial agents and I want to make use of them all if I can. The arms holding the eviscerator, however, don't quite fit, so I shave them down with my knife and forcefully encourage them into place. I then stick the Quest Keeper head into place. At this point I have a confession to make. I'm working with old footage, and the footage for sculpting the first part of the hood, which I want to use to cover the power pack space, has gone missing in the warp. But simply put, this is kind of what I did. If we can imagine these bits of paper as green stuff that I cut into triangles, I rounded off the edges, placed one piece flat against the back of the model and the other over the top, making sure not to stick it down so I could mould a hood shape. Rough. But anyway, to finish the hood I need another triangle. I rolled up some green stuff and flatten it down with a flat object using a bit of water. I then cut the circle into a triangle, one angle at a time. I put it on the model and cut away the excess. I then use a silicone sculpting tool to get it into shape. After a bit of faffing around, I get something like this. I decided to build the Enlightener from the Agent's kit because I thought the model looked better, which means I need to make the Interrogator, which I'm going to base on this Commissar. I remove a little nug of plastic from the collar with my knife and the nug from his foot so I can mount him on a different base. He is going places after all. I want my interrogator to carry a Rosarius because he is in special favour with his Lord Inquisitor and on a crucially important mission, so he needs the full weight of the Imperium behind him. Plus, it'll look cool. The closest thing I have is this Deathwatch symbol from the upgrade sprue, so I set about filing down the symbol so I can stick it into place. I then add the collar from the Commissar kit, which fits snugly into place. I used the head for the interrogator from the Agent's kit, cutting it down to size to fit. Now I fit the Rosarius and I've filed down the shoulder socket to make it big enough to accommodate the arms from the Agent's kit. The arms look okay on the Commissar body, but I think I can strengthen the look of the shoulders by using the plates from the Commissar's arms, so I cut them off and filed them down, which took way too much time to do. I then glued the arms together and onto the body and stuck the shoulder plates on, and I think he looks great. Now I want to fit the candlestick to the back of the model just like with the original. I try lots and lots and lots of filing to try to get it to stick in place with some glue, but it's just not strong enough in the end and soon it will fall off. Before I realise this, I stick the model to the base and fill in the space under his feet with some super glue. I thought with a bit of base texture no one will notice that he's on his tippy toes. At this point, however, I do notice his legs just look too long compared to his arms, so I cut them off. I filed down the plastic and cut the legs away so he can only see his feet poking out from under his robes. This looked loads better, so I moved on to the green stuff stage. I cut off way too much green stuff, removed the middle which has cured, and mixed it all together until I had a nice green colour. Taking a small amount, I rolled it into a small ball and then into a stick using some wet palette paper for a clean surface to work from. I cut the stick down to size, fixed it to the model next to his suspenders and squished it and smoothed it into the recesses. I then took another small part of the stick to smoothen out onto the chest to build back a bit of girth after the filing. I also stick the candle back on after that fell off, so this time I attach it with 2 blobs of green stuff, hoping that will give a stronger bond. However, this did break the legs. I do have a hobby drill and some rods somewhere, but it seems for the time being also lost in the warp, along with the footage and my organisational skills. For the time being, I use some of this super strong glue I recently found, which should do the job. With 2 down, it's time to move on to the Penal Legionnaire, because what's a secret inquisitorial war without at least one conscripted criminal? I built the Death World veteran from the Agent's kit because he's my favourite model from the whole team. Fittingly, I'm using one of the Hive Scum models from this one. I start by gluing the torso together, then I remove the dangly bit to make room for the chainsword arm, making sure to clean the area with my knife. I want to use the head from the Agent's kit, which means cutting down the ball joint to make it fit. Then I glue the flame pistol arm from the Agent's kit before gluing the head on to get the correct firing. Finally, to finish the model, I glue the chainsword arm on from the Agent's kit. So a nice easy conversion here. From the Agent's kit, I built the Mystic, but an Inquisition retinue isn't complete without a Preacher with a shotgun. I used one of the bodies from the Redemptionist box to build the Hexorcist. I start by removing the rope noose from the belt because it's just too iconic for the Redemptionists. I glue the Redemptionist body together as well as the fur scarf from the Agent's kit. I then remove some plastic from the lower chest area so I can fit the shotgun in a position so I can line the hand moulded to the shotgun with the wrist of the right arm. I also remove some plastic from the neck so I can fit the Hexorcist head. It doesn't need to be too neat because it will be covered up later with the scarf. Next, I glue the arms on so I can then glue the floofy scarf over the top. I also glue the head on and stick him onto the base. The floofy scarf is a bit too big, like clothes gifted by your in-laws, so I squish some green stuff underneath to get a stronger bond, which also fills the gap up nicely. Some fairly simple conversions, but I think they do a really good job of looking different whilst keeping some of the familiar aesthetics of the original Agents. The Inquisition doesn't often fight on the front lines. They're busy unearthing heresies, interrogating suspects, and probably filling out a lot of paperwork, and I love that. Well, not the paperwork, but how a faction like this fits so well into Kill Team. They feel like they belong, like you're seeing the secret side of the Imperium, unearthing heresies before it spreads too far. I'm pretty happy with how these conversions turned out, and now I have some unique agents for my games of Kill Team. I think the green stuff HUD on the Quest Keeper looks alright, but I'll get a better idea of how it looks after I've painted it. I'm really enjoying sculpting. It's something that when I was a youngster seemed so impossible, but like with anything, the more I practice, the better I become. If you like weird conversions, missing footage and chaotic hobby projects, hit like and subscribe now. More Mad Dog hobby projects coming soon. Ciao.